To no one's surprise, Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders was reelected, and during his victory speech, he gave what I think is a glimpse of what we'll see in 2020, because we all know he's likely going to be running again for president in 2020, so he kind of gave us a snapshot as to what we can expect. And he fired off at Donald Trump. He spoke about the policy substance as he usually does, but he hit Donald Trump, and he hit him pretty hard. So this is what he had to say.
But more important than even these terrible policies is that we have a president of the United States who is a pathological liar and is doing something that no president in my lifetime has ever done. And that is, instead of bringing the American people together, he is trying to divide us up based on the color of our skin, based on where we come from, based on our religion, based on our gender, based on our sexual identity. Our job is to tell this president that we will not tolerate policies which are racist and sexist and homophobic.
So the way that I view this is kind of as a soft launch for Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign, because if you are going to make a speech in your re-election campaign and you're going to name the president who may one day be your opponent, I think that that says something. It's kind of him putting up the bat signal to progressives, saying, you can be hopeful, hindsight is 2020, and yes, I will be running. Now, he states here, quote, that Trump is a pathological liar, and he's called him that before, so it's not the first time, but it is important to reiterate that because it's true. There's an article from, I think, Newsweek that said Trump was averaging 30 lies per day in the lead up to the midterm elections. Now, on average, he told about 8 lies per day, but in the lead up to the midterm elections, he was averaging 30 lies per day. I don't care how unsurprising this is. We can never normalize this type of behavior. We can never normalize lies because facts matter. And as another soy boy likes to say, facts don't care about your feelings. And I think that we need to make sure that we point it out whenever Donald Trump lies, because this type of misinformation, even if it is so idiotic and mind-numbingly dim-witted that anyone with half a brain can dismiss these things that he says at face, I mean, there's still a lot of people that buy into what he's saying. I mean, after he stated that millions of people voted illegally in the 2016 election, the number of his supporters that believed him, I mean, it was way too high. It's just, what he says can never be normalized. So in repeatedly stating that Donald Trump is a pathological liar, it's not an attack, it's just a fact. If you are averaging 30 lies per day, or 8 regularly, you're a pathological liar. It's compulsive. He's probably not even aware that he's lying. He just says things and doesn't really have any regard for if they're true or not. Now, he also says Trump is doing something that no president in my lifetime has ever done, and that is, instead of bringing the American people together, he is trying to divide us up based on the color of our skin, based on where we come from, based on our religion, based on our agenda, and based on our sexual identity. So, needless to say, Bernie Sanders is not holding back, and this is going to be pretty interesting going into 2020. I've already seen some petitions of people demanding that Bernie Sanders launch before the end of the year, and I think that there's certainly value in launching as soon as possible because the competition is going to be, it's going to be pretty strong. I'm not going to underestimate our opponents, but I really want to emphasize that people need to take a break. I hope Bernie Sanders takes a good break and just rests until 2019, but I do hope he launches early. So look, Bernie Sanders is going to run again, and what he just said here in the speech is a glimpse at what he's going to be saying in 2020. He constantly echoed the sentiment that, he was so prideful of the fact that he never ran a negative campaign ad in his life, And he said this, but a lot of us were saying, you've got to run negative campaign ads. You've got to hit your opponents hard, because if the American people are on the line, then you can't afford to not be aggressive. And I feel as if Bernie Sanders is kind of being introspective and reflecting on what a lot of us are saying. Don't hold back. Attack Donald Trump relentlessly. Even if I think all of us can agree that Bernie would have won if he were the nominee in 2016, going into 2020, I do believe Trump will be more difficult to defeat. I really feel that that's the case, and I hope that I'm wrong. But certainly, even if polls show that Trump is not the favorite to win, we need to treat this as if he is the favorite. Never, ever underestimate your opponent. That's the one clear thing I think we all learned from 2016, and we've all got to put in the work. And I know that a lot of you don't have the time or the energy to do that when you come home from working 12-hour shifts in multiple jobs. But any little thing that you can do to just spread the word, even if it's the most simple gesture, going to Facebook and saying, hey, register to vote at this day and time, you really can make a difference. I don't know how many family members I convinced to vote for Bernie Sanders, to register for the first time. If we all do this, then on a macro level, we really can make a difference, and understand that the day Bernie Sanders announces, I'm going to donate $27, I'm going to buy the shirts, the bumper stickers, I'm going to go all out, because this is really a fight for our lives. And if we accidentally fuck up again and nominate someone that isn't best positioned to face Donald Trump, if Donald Trump gets a second term, could you imagine what that means for the Supreme Court? Could you imagine? I don't even want to think about the implications of him winning again, because when it comes to the Supreme Court, yeah, I'm not going to think about that right now, because it's too depressing. So we need to fight like our lives depend on it, because it absolutely does. And I will be doing everything I can to get the word out about Bernie Sanders. And you need to understand that there are going to be times in 2020 where you feel demoralized because corporate media is going to attack Bernie Sanders. They're probably going to dismiss his campaign and not really cover it. We're going to see a lot of the same. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more shenanigans from the DNC. They're probably going to try to fuck him over again. But understand, this is all to be expected. We have to plan for it and try to adjust in order to make him successful regardless. Overwhelm the polls, register new voters, sign up your friends and family. Meanwhile, don't short yourself on some much needed rest time. For those of you campaigning, hitting the streets every single day for Andrew Gillum and Beto O'Rourke, take a much needed break, and then we'll all regroup in 2019 and we will fight like hell for Bernie Sanders, because I have no doubt that he is the best bet to take on Donald Trump.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.